everyone, Ryan here, or M&R Productions, and welcome to my review of the LEGO Star Wars Summer 2021 75314, the Bad Batch Attack Shuttle. With 969 pieces, this set comes in at $100 in the United States. It does release August 1st. You have 5 minifigs at the bottom and a GONK Droid as an additional character in the set. You can see the box art looking pretty good there. I'm not exactly sure which desert planet this is, but kind of looks like Basana to me. I know it's probably not Basana, but that's kind of the vibes it's giving off. It's a pretty bland box art, to be honest. You just have the shuttle flying by with a couple of speeders that are added into the set for added value, and certainly those speeders may be more necessary than you thought. And as I'm going to explain in this review, one of the most hyped sets of the summer wave is probably the most disappointing to me. It's not as good as I think most people are expecting for this set. I have some things that I don't like about it. We'll definitely get into those. Anyway, one of the things I do like about it is the box art. They definitely nailed the header art there with the 3 Bad Batch characters in Tech, Hunter, and Wrecker. And so we have that, and that's going to hopefully be a staple of any Bad Batch sets to come in 2022 and beyond. If we move to the side, we also have the side box art for the Summer 2021 lineup. Flipping the box to the back, we see all the characters with their helmets taken off, the speeders just kind of resting, the Bad Batch shuttle slightly opened up, and some highlight boxes to try and sell you on the product maybe in the store. Anyway, let's take a look at the minifigs up close and personal. The first and by far most important minifigure in this set is the GONK Droid, aka Gonky, as affectionately named by Omega. Unfortunately, this GONK Droid is not really an accurate representation of the actual Gonky. This is indeed a fake Gonky. Gonky is a more tan color. In fact, it's quite literally tan. This is quite literally gray. So LEGO unfortunately didn't quite nail the color on it, but nonetheless, for the memes, a GONK Droid does exist in this set, and a lot of people are drawn to that. The lone member of the Bad Batch to go rogue, of course, and go completely to the Empire is Crosshair. That back print looks spectacular, even though you don't really see his back in the Bad Batch, at least thus far that I've seen. The helmet uses the regular Episode 3 Clone Trooper helmet. However, of course, they've got the green visor print onto it, and they've made it look substantially different by giving it a way different print than we would with the normal Clone Troopers. The rest of his torso, waist, and leg print is kind of done in this light gray color to just accentuate everything. Removing the helmet will reveal a face, and very fortunately we do have a proper face for Crosshair. There was certainly some fear that LEGO wouldn't include the face and you just get a black head underneath, but yes, we actually have the Crosshair face and it looks wonderful. Next up, we have the Hunter minifigure. Same deal with the Episode 3 Clone Trooper helmet there. LEGO did a really good job with the markings on this particular guy. While they're not perfect and rarely are with a lot of LEGO figures, they really nailed some of the little details. Like on the left side, you can see these little ventilation things are red. They're kind of a really dark red, and then on the right side, they're black. And that is actually the way it is in the show. So that's a small detail that they actually got right, and interestingly enough, I was looking at the Black Series version, and I think they got it wrong. So LEGO actually beating out Black Series on this particular character in one little specific area is a nice little win for LEGO. That being said, the rest of the print of the helmet looks really good with the red and white accent marks. I do wish the white was a bit brighter. I think it should be a bit brighter, but other than that, really good. The back print coming in rather solid, and the front is very, very good. Very well detailed. Definitely no expense spared as far as the print on the front. Again, the arm print maybe could have gone well. He does include a knife, and I kind of wish they included a pistol for him, but they didn't. You can certainly add your own if you would like. The knife is, of course, pretty iconic for him in the show thus far, so nice to see it there. Oh, and flip printing. Hey, who doesn't like that? Removing the helmet, though, will reveal a face. He's got a bandana on, and kind of unfortunate, in my opinion. The face doesn't look that great. It just doesn't translate to me. It does include a hairpiece for him, and I don't even think this helps because the bandana is supposed to go around the hairpiece, and it just doesn't work, unfortunately. Hunter here is definitely more well-suited to have his helmet capped on his head. I just don't like the way this looks. I think the hair color is a little off. I think the hair design is certainly off without the bandana. But 2 facial expressions is still nice to have. nonetheless, certainly a figure I'm leaving the helmet on. Next up, we have Wrecker, who is a bigger character than the rest of the clone troopers, of course, super strong, and he actually uses the Iron Man helmet mold, which is not the most accurate helmet mold, I would say, but it does fit better than the Episode 3 clone trooper helmet mold, so fair enough, it does work in that way. I will say the only issue I have with his print on his face there, unlike Hunter, where I actually think they did a really great job, the lower jaw print of his face there, I think those should be closer. That black space between them should be like half that amount of space, if not even closer. So just a small detail that I felt like I noticed immediately and was like, that looks kind of weird. But anyway, on the side, you got the little skull and logo again that you see also on the top of his helmet there with the 99. Same on the other side of his shoulder pad, just some studs on the back because this is a reuse mold, even though, you know, he doesn't actually have studs on his back. There's a nice bit of a print on the front of the torso. And again, this is used to make him a little bit taller, so he's actually a little bit taller than the other characters, just ever so slightly. His face print looks excellent. You've got the kind of white eye and then the regular eye there, and all the markings on his face are very well represented. Of course, no double-sided face because he doesn't have a hairpiece to cover up the other side of the face. Otherwise, he'd just have two faces. It'd look very weird. So here's the Echo minifigure, and he looks really good. I do have one major issue with him, however, and that is his waist cape. His waist cape is startlingly poor looking. They basically just printed it onto the front, and like obviously they don't do side printing on minifigs like this or back leg printing on minifigs like this, and so you end up with this really shoddy looking waist cape, which isn't much of a waist cape when it's literally just a print on the front of the legs. And what's interesting to me is they've made waist capes like this before. The only reasonable conclusion I can come to as a reason they would actually not include a waist cape is that they wanted him to be able to sit in the Bad Batch shuttle without any issues, and for that reason, you would need to have open studs on the back, and therefore you wouldn't want an actual cloth cape blocking that. That would be a problem. So that is the only reason I can understand not having a waist cape. Otherwise, it's just plainly inaccurate and unfortunate that they didn't go out of their way to add that waist cape, and add that, like, kids could just not have it on there if they didn't want. I would certainly leave it on because I would think it would look great for the character to have a custom printed waist cape. They've done stuff like this before for characters like Shira Wei, and certainly no reason to believe they couldn't have done it here, but they just opted not to. Other than the waist cape, though, the rest of the character looks spectacular. They've got him with a regular hand. They didn't give him any of his other hand options. That's Lego for you, though. Really couldn't really expect anything else. They did print one of his arms, which looks really good. I think that was a great opportunity to add in a lot of detail, and they took full advantage of that. It is one of the more dense arm prints that I have really ever seen on a minifigure. Back print also very dense, packed with detail. Looks like he's wearing a little backpack, I believe there. He also has that Episode 3 Clone Trooper helmet. They try to capture a lot of the contours that the Episode 3 Clone Trooper helmet doesn't quite capture from the actual Echo helmet, and they do a decent job, but obviously a new mold would have gone a long way for a character like this. Removing that helmet will reveal his face, and he does not include hair, but you can see there the back of the helmet has the whole techno part of his head there, and unfortunately the Episode 3 helmet doesn't quite attach like the actual Echo helmet. It's just not gonna work the same. It's okay that it doesn't. It would be absurd to think LEGO would actually do something that crazy different outside of the box, but yeah, unlike the actual show, there's no open spot on the back of the helmet when he takes it off, so it is cool to still have the detail there on the headpiece, though, with that print. And finally, probably the most anticipated minifig for this set, given that he's the only one with a brand new mold, is gonna be Tech. Tech is... oh boy, I don't even know where to start with this one. I guess we have to start with the helmet. Unfortunately, the visor doesn't move. I thought that would happen when I first saw it, but no, the visor is not moving up or down, no matter what you do. It sucks. I wish it did. It would be super cool if it did, but even though it doesn't, I'm still pretty okay with that. And you can actually see his eyes through the helmet. They've left it wide open, which makes sense and is accurate. You've got a lot of the details on this helmet down super accurately as well, including like little antenna on top. Even the red line on the top of his helmet is there. You can see that a little bit out of focus there, but nonetheless, the red line is there. Very well detailed, nicely printed. Got pretty much everything you could ask for out of a Tech helmet. It is a little bit big, but that's kind of the name of the game. Unfortunately, with LEGO, sometimes it just feels bigger than it should be. And it does suffer from the Stormtrooper helmet syndrome, where you literally cannot turn the helmet, unlike you can in the real universe, obviously. But yeah, you're not turning the helmet on this LEGO figure, which I don't see to be as big of a problem as is on the Stormtrooper. The rest of the print for the front of his torso, legs, and waist, and feet, and everything, absolutely spectacular. Captures plenty of detail. He's running dual wield with the machine pistols, looks great. And then around back, you've even got a new print for his backpack. He's got an antenna on his backpack, and you'll notice that he actually has a back print underneath all of that, so we'll have to remove the backpack. There's a good close look at the back print. While yes, we did just see that face for tech, there's actually another face for tech on the other side, rather inquisitively looking on, and we can place his hair on top, and he actually has his eyebrow raised, and he looks really good like this, in my opinion. I really like the way that that turns out. Completely covers the back side of the other face, and yeah, so you can actually have him helmetless if you want, but I prefer to keep the helmet on because it's a pretty dope helmet. I think they did a great job with the new mold for the helmet, and I'm really happy that it came out as good as it did. The two speeders included in the set are pretty good looking. Now, there's a lime green speeder, which is rather unique for this set, and it's the one that I personally like better in this particular set as far as the aesthetics go. It just looks really flashy, and that's something that you don't get with a lot of LEGO Star Wars speeder bikes like this, so I like seeing something outside of the box and different in this case. Very nice. You have a little sticker at the front for some added detail, and same there in the midsection. Some weird kind of movable pieces here that aren't really supposed to be moved, but for the idea of like a kid having fun with it, I suppose that can certainly happen. You also have these, I'm not exactly sure what these are. I assume the engines on the side of the bike, kind of, again, an odd design for sure, but definitely one that stands out. And then, because Tech rides this, you have the 4 studs there for him to go ahead and sit down on. And with Tech seated there, you can see that he fits in really easily. Very nice fit. Has both his weapons ready to go. There's enough space for his backpack behind him, which is definitely important. You could just have a regular LEGO chair and then you'd have to take off his backpack and stuff, or more realistically place a different character on there. And then at the back, there's actually a clip. You can place on one of his weapons or whatever you want to place onto that clip, but there is a little storage clip on the back of this particular speeder bike. Nice design, although I find some of it to be a little bit flimsy, as you can see. The other bike is Crosshair's, and this may look familiar. Now, the color scheme is significantly darker, and in that way different than the 501st Battle Pack's speeder bike, but as far as like the actual construction of this thing, they are very close. They are not identical, but they are very close, and they certainly look very similar. They are obviously both BARC speeders from the Clone Wars, essentially. You do have some stickers at the back that line up very well if you take your time with them. You have a nice and actually pretty comfortable looking seat there for Crosshair, and there's a couple stud shooters at the front, so you can try to shoot down Tech if that's what you're trying to do. But like I said, there's a seat for him, so all you have to do is take him, sit him in, and just like that, he's good to go. He can also hold on to the handlebars, just like the Clone Troopers could on the 501st Battle Pack version of this. And like I said, there are some differences to the design, maybe more than you would expect if you put these side by side. The finished shuttle is a lot smaller than I was expecting. It's not tiny, but it's not $100 big in my opinion. Now, that being said, it now makes a lot more sense to me why the designer said that they added these 2 speeders in to increase the value of the set, because this is not a $100 build. This is pushing it at $80. Having these 2 speeders are what helps make this set worth the $100 if that's the way you're going to look at it. And of course, the figures are a big part of that money as well. Now, the other important thing to talk about with the Bad Batch Shuttle is the color scheme they have gone with. They have gone with a LEGO sand blue mixed with dark bluish gray and some black accents. And that is the color scheme of the Bad Batch Attack Shuttle here. And it is very bold with that color scheme. And what's interesting about that is if you watch the show and you look really closely, in most lighting conditions, it does kind of have a lighter blue tint to it. However, I would say when you get up close and personal with it and it becomes very obvious what color it actually is, it's really gray, and then there are some blue scrapes in the shuttle, in my opinion. That's just from what I've seen watching the show 8 episodes in now, and it is of note that the designers said that they had no question it was sand blue and that Disney immediately approved it to be sand blue and that they could go ahead and produce it like this. But Hot Wheels, on the other end, went with a dark gray, and every model of LEGO Bad Batch Shuttle I had seen prior to this was done in dark gray. Nobody had ever suggested it could possibly be a different color. So LEGO really went out on a limb here with the sand blue color, and I think it works. I think a lot of people have ended up liking the sand blue, but nonetheless, this blue does give it a bit of a different flavor than some other LEGO Star Wars sets, and it's been a while since we've seen some sand blue LEGO Star Wars sets, so this is definitely a really different look and a shakeup of things. So was blue the right color choice? It's going to come down to personal preference for a lot of people as to whether or not blue is the right choice. But in my opinion, I'm really mixed on it, and I'm not really hard one way or the other. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I don't really have much else to say about it. Externally, the cockpit of the shuttle does have a really great printed piece. This was something I was a bit worried would end up being a sticker, but as you can see, it is completely printed. It is not like transparent here or anything, so you can't actually see into what would otherwise be the cockpit interior there, but it's still a solid print nonetheless. Now, also speaking of the cockpit, you can actually open it from the front. You can see a little hinge here, and unfortunately, that's all you're gonna be getting there. You're gonna get maybe 30 degrees of separation, and that's it. Seeing the cockpit open like that is kind of annoying because it doesn't really get you very far. It feels like a feature that they just put there so that they could say it opens, but like it doesn't actually perform the function that you would want it to do so that you can actually access what you're trying to access. The rest of the shape of the cockpit is actually really solid though, and I think they've done a great job with the way that it looks overall. You can see they've got some gray paneling on the side mixed with some blue, which I think is a really good mix of colors, and it's going to be more of the same on the other side, although slightly different on the back here. You can see slight difference, not quite perfectly symmetrical. Underneath the cockpit, you've just got a few tiles, which are basically your landing gear. There is no real landing gear on the bottom of this set, which is unfortunate. However, it does slide pretty well. You can see it's a rather smooth slide there, so as far as that's concerned, I guess it's fine, but like, it doesn't have landing gear. So I think a lot of people may be disappointed on that front. Certainly landing gear is a pretty big thing for a lot of people, and this set is just straight up missing it. That being said, I can see why there really is nowhere for it to go. The back of the set has a red tail light, and then you have the actual thrust from the engines on the right and the left there. You also have some rear cannons to shoot at some enemy ships that may be trying to chase you down, so that's a nice little inclusion on the back. They can actually rotate a little bit there so you can take out more ships at different angles as you need to. Really good little play function. Always liked using those as a kid. You also have these on the back. I'm not exactly sure what these are supposed to do, but functionally they actually could close and stop engine thrust if that's the way they're supposed to work, and theoretically I suppose they could work like that, or with the imagination of a kid playing with this set. Now for someone displaying it, like, you just put it how you want it and be happy with it. Now the other thing this ship can do is the wings can drop down, and because there's no landing gear, you can actually drop these down pretty easily without having to hold the ship with two hands, because it just supports itself as you bring them down. And you can see as we bring both wings down, you actually get a great look at the mid-section of the Bad Batch shuttle here. And this is a gray area where I think the combination of colors on this set is shown well and a little bit better than maybe some people would think. You have the gray and the blue, maybe a little bit too much blue in my opinion, but still nonetheless the colors are mixed well. And what I really like about this, something they haven't done too much on a lot of sets like this, is how smooth this is. Usually LEGO will go out of their way, and maybe perhaps a good example is the wings, to add studs to things. They really like having the studded look. It is exceptionally tiled off and smooth throughout this entire section, bar this 1x2 tile or plate, and I think that's wonderful. I think that looks really good. It feels really good. The 90-degree angle that that piece creates looks spectacular with the build along the middle ridge of the ship. I think that's awesome. I really appreciate the way that that looks, and again, same on the other side, very symmetrical in that way. And then of course the fin at the top, not so symmetrical. Now they definitely tried to capture the same detail on both sides, but unfortunately with LEGO, one side's going to be studs and the other side is going to be the underside of the studs, and unfortunately it just doesn't look as good on one side as it does the other. You do have the yellow light at the top, and that's nice detail, I suppose. But yeah, seeing this side is always a bit of a bummer, but this has forever been a problem on LEGO shuttles like this, and probably forever will be, so no real surprise or complaint there. It's just the way it is. The same can be said for the wing design, where when in the flying position, the outward facing part of the wing is studded, but when landed, the outside facing position of the wing is the inside of the studs. So again, that's just kind of the way these shuttles work, always have and likely always will. You just get a good idea of how the wing goes together here. Very strong and capable build. You can actually just pick the whole setup by the wing if you really wanted to, so you don't have to worry about things breaking like that. Now, in order to actually fly the ship, you have to drop the wings down. I usually drop them down about yay far, and you can hold it on the side of the set. Now, this is a problem for a couple of reasons. Basically, you can break this whole section off really easily. It's not the strongest connection to the center of the ship, so you can, by holding it here, break that off, and that's going to be a problem for you. You could theoretically hold it by the wings, but they're prone to moving a little bit, and so that's not a great way to hold it. Really, to me, the only way to hold it is like two hands on the side like this, a little bit holding like the circular parts, and you may have noticed the spring-loaded shooter just shot off, and that is a problem I have with this set, is that no matter how I seem to hold it, I'm always accidentally, just like that, I didn't mean to press it, accidentally firing those spring-loaded shooters, because you want to hold it from underneath like this. It seems to be the only reasonable way to really hold this thing, and you're always just firing off those spring-loaded shooters that I haven't even shown you on the set yet. They're under there. It's a pretty nicely compact feature, and again, just handling this set like a normal, I mean, probably easier than a kid would. I've knocked this off. It's kind of appalling to me how weak the design is in that way. I'm not sure why it is. I mean, I kind of understand why it is. It's because they've had to downsize a lot of things that they would have otherwise done with Technic. And basically the real problem here is that you are going to want to come along, and what I assumed the way you would grab this set, the first time I ever saw it in pictures, and then the first time I ever went to grab it on my live stream after I finished building it, I went to grab it and lift it up and fly it away and have a good time, and oh no, you can't do that, can you? And there are pros and cons to this. The obvious con to this is you can't just pick it up like this, and then the bigger problem to that is you have these weaker panels on the side. The other one has just popped off with me trying to pick it up. And then these spring-loaded shooters on the bottom that just fire every time you pick it up, and it's annoying. And in this case, the pro to having something where when you just lift it up, the whole thing lifts up, you actually get great access to the interior space. Unfortunately, that interior space is not so big, only allowing for you to barely fit the minifigs inside. Nonetheless, the interior space does present interestingly enough, and we'll certainly go in depth on it here. You can see the control panel at the front. That's a pretty standard control panel for LEGO Star Wars. I'm sure you've seen one or already own one in a set or two of your own. We can actually place a couple minifigs at the front to pilot the ship. Not quite the 4 that you actually see in the show, but I'm not usually a stickler for that type of thing. I don't really know anyone who is. It's not a big deal. This isn't minifigure scale. It's not supposed to be, and so you only can fit 2. And at that, they do fit in easily. You don't have a problem with that. And like I said earlier, you can open this like 30 degrees. You can maybe get, oh, what did you look at that? It's Hunter's helmet. Couldn't get the figure out. So you can see what I'm saying with that being a problem, only opening slightly. You can barely get your hand in there. It's just not very fun. But for this set, the party is in the back. You have a couple of what might be my favorite stickers ever for a LEGO Star Wars set. You've got this clone trooper here on the right, and then on the left, you actually have a Venator and Separatist cruiser fighting in space, and it looks epic, and it's the best sticker that they've ever made for a LEGO Star Wars set. It's fantastic. Absolutely love it. And just to the right of that, you can see the rest of your interior space. Like I said, it is pretty sorely lacking. I mean, compared to any other LEGO Star Wars Shuttle set, this is almost the bottom of the barrel. The 2021 Imperial Shuttle might be slightly worse as far as interior space goes. I think these 2 stickers are pretty awesome and put this one over the top. The actual space you're getting here just isn't a lot, unfortunately. And like I said, this isn't minifig scale, but I usually expect a little bit more in terms of interior space on a playset like this. There ain't gonna be any playing going on in there. Having moved the minifigs back out of the way, if we hold this down and pull up on this, we actually access a little storage compartment here, and it's actually pretty sizable for the size of set this is. It's basically almost the same size as the space you have for the minifigs. Maybe you could fit a minifig in there. You certainly can't fit the Gonk Droid in there. Accessories such as helmets will also provide issues with closing. Unfortunately, the storage of this little area is seemingly limited to just a couple of weapons. Maybe you could also put in something small there. I tried Tech's backpack combined with those two weapons, and unfortunately it just didn't fit along with them. It's just a little bit too tight of a fit for it to close back up, and if it doesn't close back up, you can't put the minifigs back in, so that's a whole problem. You can actually remove this whole thing too. It's a bit of a tight thing to grab, but you can pull this box out if you really want this box for some reasons. I think I would have preferred that space to just be extra room for your figures to have to breathe, or maybe even for Gonky to fit in over there. He certainly could have if that whole apparatus wasn't there. A quick modification proves my point. Gonk Droid is a go. Given that this is a great way to pick up 5 of, I guess, technically the 6 Bad Batch members now, with Omega joining the crew in Season 1 of the Bad Batch. I guess LEGO didn't get the memo about Omega and didn't include her in this set. Maybe we'll see her in 2022. But nonetheless, getting 5 of the Bad Batch guys here is incredible, with Tech, Wrecker, Crosshair, Hunter, and Echo there on the right. And Gonky is a nice addition, although kind of the wrong color. And while I think these figures are far from what I would consider perfect, they are more than good enough for the average LEGO consumer. They well represent what they're supposed to represent. They get the message across and you can tell who they are. I'm glad they did a new helmet mold for Tech. That was an absolute must. The rest get by with the older Clone and Iron Man helmet molds, and I don't expect that to ever change. It's not like we're going to get a new helmet mold specifically for any of those characters. They just don't require one. I still find the actual design of the ship to be really appealing. I think they did a great job making something that is very aesthetically pleasing. Whether you like the color or not, the build of it just looks really good. Now, that being said, I still have my issues with the way that the fin on the top is not the way that you hold the set, and then the spring-loaded shooters on the bottom just always firing on me when I don't want them to be firing. So there are some flaws with this set that I think are certainly noteworthy, but I don't feel like they're deal breakers because, let's be honest, you're probably like me. You're probably going to buy this set and put it on a shelf. If you're buying this for a kid, though, you're going to get this as a gift, you may want to look elsewhere because that fin is going to be a problem and they're probably going to break this. Unless they love the Bad Batch, then of course this is like the perfect gift to get any kid that loves the Bad Batch. But like, if you just want to buy them a cool Star Wars spaceship, maybe look elsewhere as far as something that they can actually get really good play value out of. But for collectors like myself, it's a really good display piece and one that I think a lot of you guys will be able to enjoy and appreciate. So for me, this is an 8 out of 10. It, like I said, has a lot of flaws. The figures are far from perfect, but it's certainly passable. And for $100, it's a really good deal given that you actually get all of the characters and split these up like the Knights of Ren and really screw you over. They're doing you a favor here, honestly, with this, I feel like. And I shouldn't be saying it like that because we're paying them money for this, but getting 5 named characters in a set for $100 don't happen every day. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the Bad Batch Shuttle. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed the review, and if you want to check out more other LEGO Star Wars 2021 set reviews, you can check them out on the end screen now.